Snyder's Return is a tabletop roleplay interview and actual play podcast. We chat with content creators from both mainstream and indie publishers, and we release actual play episodes of systems like our City of Mist game, Meddlers, Monsters and Madmen, and more games coming in the future. We also have a TTRPG review show on YouTube, Fly Like a D6. Come and check us out. You can find us on Twitter at Return Snyder, Instagram Snyders_return. You can find us on YouTube at Snyder's Return, Discord, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Life's a game, the world's a stage, and we are merely role players, where theatrical people play role-playing games. I'm Matt, and I'm your compere for this Backstage episode from our current main house production.
I'm joined by Ellen.
Hello.
By Josh.
Hello.
And by subject of today's Backstage episode, Dave. Welcome, Dave.
Hello.
How are you doing? How are you feeling about this process?
Yeah, pretty good.
Cool. So, let's get straight into it. Dave, tell us which Monster of the Week playbook you have chosen to play and what made you put it as your choice.
I have chosen to play the Mundane, and I chose that because I thought, you know, if you can't be something fantastic, why not be something really normal and boring? But then I actually looked at the kind of character creation process for the Mundane, and it's not that boring. It's actually pretty cool, and you can do some really powerful, fun stuff. So that's kind of really hooked me in, and I thought this would be really good.
Yeah, this is one of the things I like about Monster of the Week is that the quote-unquote normal people characters like the Mundane and the Flake and the Professional who don't have actual superpowers still look really fun to play. And if I get to be a character in this at some point, I will be drawn to one of those quote-unquote normal person characters as well. So yeah, we'll find out exactly what it is the Mundane gets to do. So this is your kind of like Xander from Buffy is the stereotypical one. Are there any other ones from like shows or books or whatever that you like that kind of fit this bill?
It was quite tricky actually. After Xander, I started thinking about kind of the friends in superhero films. If you think about Ant-Man's friend in the van who kind of recaps everything, he's always pretty good, and Spider-Man's friend. But then it made me start thinking about actual normal people. And I thought about series 1 of Big Brother and Craig as just a really good example of a normal, boring, bog standard human being. And I thought that's probably where I'll start picking my inspiration from. And then that made me start thinking about Bob the Builder. And actually, Bob the Builder is a perfect Mundane because he lives in a world where all of his like building stuff comes to life. But he's just a normal builder. So that's kind of the inspiration that came to me. It actually came to me whilst I was listening to Josh do his character building. That's how much prep work I've done for this.
Yeah, Bob is somebody who just like carries on and does his normal job to his best ability.
I know, and his cement mixer starts talking to him. He's got like this wild life, and he just lives his normal life and does his best.
Just takes it all in stride.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's where we're looking for this the inspiration for this character.
Okay, so are we looking at Craig and Bob as possible names?
Well, I was, but then I wanted something because I was thinking if I was going to have a kind of labourer background, I was thinking of being a brickie, and then I could be Mick, and my van could be Mick's Bricks.
That's cool.
Was my thought.
Nice. Right. Well, let's go through that. Let's go through the playbook.
Yeah.
So you got a name. You get a look. So the look has some gender presentation options and some face options and some clothes options. Any of those take your eye? Shall we read them all out?
We could read them all out, but it's kind of the decision's almost made for me by the kind of design of the character. So thinking of it being a kind of a building man type like Bob the Builder, we've got man as the kind of gender presentation. And I was thinking either friendly or trustworthy face, because if you're a workman, you want to try and kind of keep your clients happy. And then work clothes.
It's got to be made entirely out of plasticine, presumably.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. It's hard to get too many emotions on a plasticine face. So,
so what do you think? Friendly or trustworthy? So it sort of gives you a bit of a cue, doesn't it, to how to?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe friendly. Actually, I quite like just being a friendly old builder who's just wobbling around in his work clothes. So in full kind of overalls, straight from work, covered in paint.
Sort of person that like all the local people, like when he's working on their driveway or whatever, they don't mind just going to work and leaving him to it because they know that he can be trusted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So then ratings, stats. As the mundane, you always get, you will definitely get charm +2.
Yeah.
Because you are good at dealing with people. This definitely ties into being trustworthy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So then it just comes down to what you want your other sorts of stats to be.
Yeah, I was kind of led by thinking about kind of working with your hands a lot, that being at least moderately tough would probably come into it. And I think in terms of coolness, being acting under pressure and helping out, that's definitely kind of along the lines of what this character would be doing. So I think more cool than sharp, and obviously definitely not weird at all, having absolutely no affinity for magic whatsoever. So that one ends up being +2 to charm, +1 cool, 0 sharp, +1 tough, and -1 weird.
Cool. That works. And actually, it's interesting that you should say like no affinity for magic, because there are actually some alternate options that we can dig into.
Ooh.
For like things that you can roll weird for if you don't want to be magical. So there these other options for ways in which you might be weird that aren't using magic are being empathic. So you can kind of read people's emotions and get an idea of their emotional state, which again is kind of, it's not a normal person thing. Illuminated, you sometimes receive information telepathically from the secret masters. Again, probably not very normal. But then there's some slightly more normal ones, like you can push your physical body a bit past its limits and sort of do more athletic things than your average person, like jumping over walls and stuff. There's the past lives one that we've talked about in Josh's episode. Or trust your gut might be one to look at, which is just you roll weird to act on instinct and see where your gut tells you to go next.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely welcome to take the usual use magic move for weird, and we can sort of work out what that looks like in terms of maybe the other characters showing you how to do things. Or you could maybe go with either this like push yourself past physical possibility, or just have really accurate instincts kind of idea.
I quite like the pushing yourself past your physical limits and having like a low weird stat, meaning that he doesn't really know how that happens. But I don't know, maybe at some point from living in this town for so long, some kind of magic has rubbed off on him. And there's a story of the fact that once he built this amazing wall quicker than anybody could have possibly thought he could do it. And that's why he's kind of so trusted in the community, because people know he's got a pretty amazing talent.
Do you reckon that perhaps you were digging up to lay some foundations for a new build on a house or something, and you accidentally like knocked through a burial ground or like a place of power, a source of power that sort of burst out at you, and you were like, oh, okay, never mind. And then you got the build done 3 days quicker than you were expecting.
Stuck your shovel in a ley line.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. So it's something that in terms of rolling will be kind of not likely to be happening. But if it does happen, it's quite exciting and quite powerful. So that I think that's quite a nice way to use that weird stat instead of having specific magic.
Cool. Yeah. So that does mean that if at any point in the game you do want to, like, it becomes logical for you to actually attempt some magic, it is harder for you. You have to do like a big ritual instead of just being able to roll the move like other people. But yeah, it gives you this like extra physical prowess that other people don't have.
Which I think makes sense.
Yeah. And I like that as kind of, I know you said that you didn't have the character all that fleshed out yet. I like that as a maybe that this was part of your gateway into this world, is that you dug into a leyline or something similar and had a weird experience.
Yeah, absolutely, because otherwise it wouldn't really make sense for this builder to be knocking around with the guys who are trying to save the day if there wasn't some connection to something going on.
Cool. So you then also get some special mundane moves. You get to pick 3 off the list. Have you had a look at these?
I have had a look at them, but if you want to read through them to kind of give the others an idea of what's available.
Yeah, I mean, are there any that you definitely want to take, or do you want to throw them all open to discussion?
I think I definitely want to take Always the Victim, purely because that looks like quite an interesting mechanic of whenever another hunter uses protect someone to protect you, they mark experience, and whenever a monster captures me, I mark experience. And I think in terms of role-playing the normal person, that's going to be a really beneficial bit of extra bonus for being kind of bad at doing stuff with monsters.
Yeah, I love that one. Okay, yeah, so let's take that one. And then the other options are, there's one called Oops, which just means at any point you can tell me that you want to stumble across something important, and I'll tell you something you stumble across by accident, just blunder into. There's Let's Get Out of Here, which means that if you can protect somebody by talking to them, basically by leading them or telling them what to do, then you can roll charm instead of the usual tough. We know that you're very charming. Panic button, which means that you're good at getting out of danger. You can name a route that you're going to try and get out of danger with and roll, and if you roll well enough, you just get out. The power of heart, which is brilliant. If you help someone, so if you try and give them a bonus to their roll by helping them out, you don't have to roll for it. You just automatically succeed on helping people while fighting a monster. There's Trust Me, where you can tell somebody the truth in order to protect them from danger. And that might mean that they do what you want them to do, and leads to interesting role-playing scenarios where you just blow the gaff completely to normal people. There's What Could Go Wrong. If you charge into danger without hedging your bets, which, having role-played with you before, Dave, I know is kind of your mojo.
Got to do that.
You get some points to spend on doing things like giving yourself or other people bonuses. And then there's Don't Worry, I'll Check It Out, where you mark experience whenever you go off by yourself to check something out.
Yeah, I mean, the last two together do sound very kind of on brand. I think What Could Go Wrong is definitely worth taking. I think that's a really cool ability to kind of get some benefit for just going, right, well, let's just go and see what's going to happen. I actually quite like the Power of the Heart as well. I think that's quite interesting.
It would definitely play into being a trustworthy chap.
Yeah. And also kind of I'm not necessarily going to be particularly good at fighting things one-on-one, but being there helps people out is quite nice.
Yes, and you're in a lot of cases, you will already be there because the monster captured you.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be a nice reminder throughout the game as to why we're really doing what we're doing, and that's to protect Mick's bricks.
Exactly. We've got to keep that business going.
Got to keep you alive. We need houses.
So Always the Victim, the Power of Heart, and What Could Go Wrong is what we're looking at.
It's a shame not to have Oops, because I just really like the title of that one. It's a really good name for an ability.
Yeah.
Can I roll Oops?
But no, I like where we've landed there.
Yeah, and you will always have the opportunity to get more moves later as you level up.
That's true.
So you can have some of them earmarked for the future.
Yeah, and if I get captured a lot, that'll happen quickly. So
you also get 2 weapons, and excitingly, you're the first person to get a means of transport.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what would you like?
Well, we'll go to the means of transport first, because that's quite a simple pick, because the choices are skateboard, bicycle, classic car, fairly new car, motorbike, or van. So it's obviously got to be the Mixed Bricks van.
Very nice.
But in terms of the weapon, it gets a little bit harder to choose, because again, I get to pick 2. And I've got things like a golf club, baseball bat, cricket bat, a pocket knife, a small gun, which I just don't think would be particularly likely. A sledgehammer would make sense.
Yeah.
Could you change one of the sports implements to be homebrew it and have something that might be on a building site?
Trowel.
Cement mixer.
Yeah, because the sledgehammer is messy and big, so it might be nice to have a smaller tool with me as well.
Yeah, I mean, the other one that sort of definitely comes to mind for a brickie is the multi-tool.
Yeah, that's true. And it might actually be able to do other bits and bobs as well.
Yeah.
So I reckon, I'll take a multi-tool and a sledgehammer.
Okay.
as much as nunchucks would also be a bit of a laugh, but
It would be an amazing surprise if you just burst out the back of your dusty old man with a
He could take evening classes.
Tell us something about what Mick does on his time off.
yeah. No, I like Sledgehammer and Multi-Tool. I think that'll work nicely. And then Mixed Bricks Van.
Great. Well, that's your playbook sheet completely filled out until we get to introductions when we actually start playing some of these sessions. But let's get a bit more of an idea of your place in this town and how you tie into this story. So when we start the story, you will already be working with this organization and you'll already be like clued in and you'll know that like monsters and magic and things are real. But when we start the story, how long do you think you've known?
Maybe not a huge amount of time.
Quite new to it.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be a fun place to play it as well. It's good to have somebody who, well, I'm not going to have a clue what's going on anyway, so it's going to help that I'm going to be able to play the kind of dumb, what's happening here kind of character.
That's cool. Yeah. So what are we talking, like months? Couple of months?
Yeah, a couple of months, I think, maybe 2 or 3 months. So it's not like, oh my goodness, I'm in shock, but it's, things are starting to settle down a bit, but everything is still very new.
Yeah, you've had long enough to actually accept that what you're seeing is real. But yeah, that you don't know everything yet. So then all of these things that you've learned about, your mind is constantly trying to forget about them. So how do you stop that from happening?
Yeah, I wondered if it could be a kind of physical object, like maybe even the van itself, that there's some kind of trauma linked to the van. So by getting into it every day to go to work, it's refreshing the memory of what happened to kind of keep that held in my mind. Yeah,
the van becomes a kind of talisman.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to do you have an idea of, so the details we've got are like van related trauma and possibly like hitting a ley line while digging?
Yeah.
Come on, Dave, who did you run over in that van after?
Yeah, I don't want to get too dark. Yeah.
Well, I drowned kids apparently, so.
Yeah, I wonder if after kind of hitting the ley line in a kind of fugue state, drove the van somewhere that I shouldn't have, and maybe my business took a huge hit. Maybe it was found like upside down on the roundabout in the middle of town, and people were like, "What on earth has happened?" And that's kind of all I remember of that night. So who knows what happened?
That's cool. I like that night is a blank because that gives us an opportunity to find out what happened through the game. So that'll be very cool. Yeah, that's just a great image. Everybody goes on the work commute in the morning and just finds Mick's Bricks van upside down in the middle of the roundabout.
Were you there with it, Mick, do you think? Were you like unconscious on it or something? Was there something weird, like, your clothes were all ripped or you were covered in paint, or just something weird about?
Yeah, probably something weird, like I was covered in paint but sitting in the passenger seat instead of the driver's seat or something.
That classic trope with not that you are going lycanthrope here, but with werewolves, they always wake up the next morning completely naked. In American Werewolf in London, he wakes up in the zoo, doesn't he? And with the wolves, is it kind of a bit bizarre like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe covered in paint, and some of it was in patterns.
Yeah.
Runes.
Yeah.
Someone did your eyeshadow while you were sleeping.
Yeah, so that can be a mystery. You could, either it can be a mystery that Mick is not interested in solving, or it can be one that he's actively trying to solve. Very much up to you.
Yeah, true.
Do you think that Mick has any prior sort of dealings or awareness or relationship with the Department of Emissions?
I don't think so, apart from the fact that I don't know if, because I'd say he's lived in this town his whole life, so potentially he knew that, I don't know how long ago they're due to have left the town. So perhaps he was aware at least that there used to be more people around in their uniforms or whatever, but now there's not. So kind of he just sees them as another government agency that's knocking around.
Yeah, well, I mean, their presence in this town would have been less as like suited X-Files government bureaucrats and more like the History and Heritage Committee.
Right, sure.
So you would be aware that the History and Heritage Committee have been defunded, but that's probably all you'd know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's something that's particularly on his mind day to day.
All right. And do you want to add a feature to the town? We're sort of fleshing it out with landmarks and features and things like that. What do you want to add?
Well, I suppose maybe the thing that got built in that night might be quite an interesting thing to add. So after hitting the ley line, potentially building something that wasn't necessarily what I was supposed to be building there. Yeah, that's like a weird, almost like a Stonehenge type thing, but made out of bricks, like modern bricks.
Yeah.
Some sort of like weird brick modern art.
Yeah, so it looks like an art installation.
Now it's a tourist attraction.
Yeah. We're going to get so many tourists into town with the wishing well and with the fair and with mixed bricks.
I think you mean Amazement Park.
The Amazement Park, excuse me.
The local paper, just like they got so many column inches out of this thing with like printing different people's letters about, it was a mistake, it's an eyesore, it should be knocked down. No, it's like, we all love Mick, it's a tribute to Mick.
Mick is very much Sherrydown's Banksy.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, maybe there's more than one of these things.
Yeah, perhaps it's happened a few times.
Okay, yeah, weird brick sculptures.
I'm sure that's exactly what you thought I'd be adding to the town when we started this.
Hey, I love just finding stuff out randomly through chat. It's all very good. So then when we start the story, like we said, you are working with this like very ramshackle community version of what used to be a big government organization.
Yep.
What made you join up?
I think it's either down to the event itself, kind of being like, oh my goodness, this has happened to me. I don't know what's happened. I want to know what's going on. Or it's also the fact that Mick's kind of incredibly proud of his hometown and wants to protect it in that kind of, I've lived here all my life. I'm not letting anyone else come and take this away kind of position. So probably a mix of the two of those kind of emotions holding him in.
Has Mick got a family? Is it just the town that he's trying to protect, or has he got like parents?
I think he's probably got quite an extended family of kind of brothers, sisters, and they have, and kind of then nieces and nephews, but he hasn't got his own family, I think, especially after the news broke of him driving a van into the roundabout. I really salted his dating game. Yeah,
I like that. Lots of nieces and nephews. Big Sheridan Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. All right. That's all the questions I have. Does anybody else have any questions for Dave about Mick? Has Mick got a last name?
Not yet, no. I don't want the builder to be...
Can it be something that rhymes with Mick, though? So you could be Nick Schmick's Bricks or something.
It definitely could be. Schmidt's quite... But then Mick Schmidt's quite hard to get your mouth around.
It's Matt that's got to say it every session.
Yeah. Small town England where everyone's last name is an old school profession, like Chandler or Nick the Builder. Yeah, Leia.
It's an old Swedish the Builder.
The Builder. No, Leia's quite nice.
That feels a bit on the nose, doesn't it?
Is Mick Leia too close to bricklayer to me?
I love it.
I like it, but I think it might be a bit close to just being a literal joke name.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to work this without have to think of a new profession.
Okay.
I mean, Smith is always there. Mick Smith.
Yep. Yep, that's definitely a mundane name.
Yeah, that's true.
How old are you?
I think probably late 30s would be my guess.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Helen. I play Melody, the Constructed.
Hi, I'm Strat, and I am playing Brier, the Monstrous. Hi, I'm Dave, and I play Mick, the Mundane. Do you?
Question mark. This is unusual. What are we doing backstage again in the middle of a production, Dave?
Yeah, well, Mick's gone and changed a bit. Rewrites. So as my levelling up from failing so spectacularly in the start of this series, I've taken a levelling up option of changing my playbook.
Incredible. This is the first time anybody in Vigil has done this. We had to look up the procedure in the Monster of the Week book. So step 1 of change your hunter to a new type. When you change your type, pick another playbook you wish to change to. Which other playbook have you picked, Dave?
So I've picked The Chosen.
Okay, talk us through the thinking. Why is Mick chosen now, suddenly?
So the thinking is that he is the chosen of the giants. So he has now woken his giant connection, and he's now aware of his kind of destiny as a pawn in the giants' plan.
Incredible. So your ratings and your history stay the same. So all of the connections you built with the other characters, obviously nothing's changed about that. And your stats are all still exactly what they were before. You may change your name or look if you want.
So I think Mick will still be called Mick, otherwise it might get a bit confusing for the residents of the town. But he's just a bit bigger, maybe a foot taller now.
A bit bigger.
And more built, and doesn't need glasses anymore, so he might be unrecognisable in his family photos from now on.
Has that happened the moment he smashed through moss?
He smashed through, the glasses exploded off his face.
He steps out
and he's bigger.
Yeah.
From the dust.
Yes.
You're going to explain this as Mick's just been stooping this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of his shirts are slightly too small now, so he's got to go shopping. Luckily, we're in a shop, so
No, Dave, you just escaped the shop.
Quick, go back in. Brier would really like that.
So for your moves, for your old mundane moves, check each one and decide if it's an intrinsic part of who you are or just something you did for a while. So which moves did you decide are part of who Mick is and therefore that you're going to keep, and which ones were just something Mick was doing for a bit that you're going to get rid of?
I think the good thing about all of the mundane moves that Mick had is they do kind of just tie into his character in general. So things like, don't worry, I'll check it out, about going off on his own, that's going to stay. What could go wrong? Again, going off on his own, so that'll stay.
All very in character for a chosen one, just as much as they were for Mick before.
Yeah, just he might actually have more of a chance of surviving these encounters. And I'm also keeping the always the victim one because I feel like he is still going to be potentially a target of some kind. But the stumbling upon an item, the oops one, that's gone. And I think those are the only 4 that I had. So right. That's him.
So Mick's the chosen one, but everybody else is still very much driven to help him out of situations. He's going off on his own into things, but nobody else wants to leave him out in the cold like that.
Yeah.
Because they'll get experience. And then you get to add new moves from your new playbook as if you were creating them from the start. So we effectively do chosen character creation, at least the moves part, which says you get all of the basic moves plus 3 chosen moves. Sounds like a great deal of choice, but then it's chosen 2 of them for you. So you get a move called Destiny's Plaything, which we're not going to do this mystery because we've already started it. But it means at the beginning of each mystery, we're going to roll weird to see what's revealed about your immediate future. And it might be a useful detail, it might be a vague hint, or it might be a prophecy of doom that something very bad is going to happen to you. And what's your weird again?
My weird is -1.
So bad things
so
more
probably going to be bad.
And you also get a move called I'm Here for a Reason. There's something you're destined to do. Work out the details. You cannot die until it comes to pass. If you die in play, you must spend luck, and you will then somehow recover or be returned to life. But once your task is done or you use up all your luck, all bets are off. So we need to work out what it is you're destined to do, and it's going to be based partly on your heroic fate, which you've had to come up with. So this is a process of picking tags. You get 2 heroic tags and 2 doom tags. So talk to us about that.
For the heroic tags, I picked the normal life, which is a kind of nod to Mick being mundane before, and mystical inheritance, which is the sort of nod to him discovering he has more to him. And then for my doom tags, I have you can't save everyone, because I feel like part of Mick's character is trying to help everyone all the time, and no normal life, so where he doesn't get what he wants, which is to be kind of back to being mundane.
2 fates in conflict.
Yeah, which doesn't sound great for Mick, but...
and these are all things that I can throw back at you whenever you spend luck in the future.
Mm-hmm.
the chosen normally also picks like how you found out that you were chosen, but we don't need to do that because we know.
Yep.
We've already played through that part. It's not happening in backstory. You dug down, you hit a ley line while laying a foundation for something, and then a giant got in your dreams.
And then
normal stuff.
Brier fucked with you for a while.
Yeah, I quite like that it's chosen. Not like, oh, it's just destiny, but it's like literally a being chose you, decided, oh, you're the one. And maybe it was just because you were the one that dug that deep.
Yeah. He's got the strength to do it. He's dug this deep.
So based on that, based on those details of your fate, we need to work out what is the destiny that you're destined for that you can't die until you do it.
Yeah,
what does this giant want from you?
And that's it. I suppose it needs to be vague enough that you get to have the control over.
Well, I'm happy to take direction.
I mean, did you have any thoughts for Mick's giant connection?
I did some. So, I mean, we've already established in Great Fire that it is having dreams about getting up and walking the land again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, would be lovely for the giant, not very nice for all of the people that have built a county on top of it.
Yeah.
So it could be that. Obviously, that could be a big conflict for Mick if the giant has chosen him to try and help it wake up and walk the land again. But if that happens, it causes lots of issues and destruction. Or now that the giant is less of an antagonist and more actually tied to you as a character than it, tied to you more closely than it was, we can have it be something a bit more benign than that you might actually want to work towards.
No, I'm happy for it to be I think like with we established just now that kind of the ley lines aren't where they were, so there's potentially some connection going on between Mick and the ley lines moving. And if that's the case, it could be that the giants need me to position them a certain way. It's kind of like that's the drive that's my chosen destiny, is to put the ley lines where they need to be.
There's also a possibility of, because the ley lines are the giant's veins, so you sort of doing that would mean sort of moving the giant itself. There's also the possibility of if there's a reason that it wants to sort of get up and walk the land again, if there's something it wants to do, then maybe your destiny is to do that on its behalf, so it doesn't have to get up and destroy everybody.
Yeah.
Did you say this thing is linked to the fate tags?
Yes.
So you've got one.
The wording is work out the details of what you're destined to do based on your fate.
There was one. Was it mystical artifact or something?
Mystical inheritance.
Mystical inheritance. Oh, all right. Okay. I was just wondering where, because you've got walk the land again. You could interpret that to be a physical. The giant gets up and walks around, but maybe there's like what it wants is to experience life on the surface, walking around this thing that is above it and unattainable for it at the moment. Doesn't mean it has to be physically. Maybe there's a way of allowing it to project or have some sort of other form that allows it to wander around and experience everything like consciously while its giant form is still beneath.
That's quite
like
nice.
It dreams its way around the like above the surface.
You're its little telepresence robot.
Oh, well, yes, it could be you, or it could be some other way,
or some other way.
Yeah.
That's quite nice because the other sort of bit of giant lore we established is that they essentially built this land. We don't know why or on behalf of whom, or whether they did it for themselves or somebody else. But maybe it's quite nice if it's like the giant built this land and then went to sleep below it, but it would like to experience something of how that land has changed since it built it and see the land that it created.
Yeah, and in that way, it's not definitely negative, the giant getting up and walking, because it just wants to come and check what's happened. It's up to him, the giant, to decide if it's if what we've done to the earth is bad or... there is doom to the fate as well, so let's have that looming threat of if it doesn't like what it sees, something might happen.
Extra sketch. No, start again.
But I like it being not... that it's not like your destiny is it wants you to wake it up, because that would inevitably like destroy the county and everybody in it. So we don't want to necessarily hang that around Mick's neck. But I like the idea of like, you know, give it a view of what's been going on at Ban, then it might still decide to be destructive if it doesn't like what it sees.
Yeah.
And that way there's still some hanging in the balance going on.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. Okay, so as long as you're still working towards that, Mick cannot die.
Hooray!
Well, as long as you're still working towards that and still have luck to spend.
Yes, yeah.
So you also get to pick another chosen move.
Yes, I have picked Invincible, which gives me +2 armor at all times. It seemed to make sense with the kind of, you're now much beefier.
And it's quite, you know, Mick is always charging into situations, and now, exactly like you said, he's a bit more able to survive them without help. Good, nice, simple move, just gives you 2 armor. If you wear other armor, it doesn't stack, but Mick wasn't in the first place, so that's all good. And then you also get a special weapon. So Mick's not just going to suddenly find this in his hand, but this is a special weapon that you are destined to wield. You get to choose what form it takes and give it some tags and what it's made of and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so the kind of idea behind it was that he's already fairly proficient with hammers from his work. So it's going to be a kind of big hammer. So it's going to be a 2-handed heavy hammer. It gets extra tags. So the tags it's going to get is like magic. So it's going to be some kind of magical hammer. And the material it's made out of is going to be bone. So it's kind of maybe giant bone, and then it's going to be spiky as well. So it's got a lot going on.
Yes, it's going to be difficult to disguise as like a normal sledgehammer.
Yeah, a big spiky, bony, magical hammer.
And we will discover in play whether that is the hammer you already have transforming, or whether this is something that is bestowed upon you some other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But either way, Mick is destined to wield the spiky giant bone hammer.
Yeah. Someday.
Can you imagine? So a lot of workmen these days have to move their tools into the house or wherever overnight, because it's not uncommon for people to try and break into their van to get their tools. So my friend's van says no tools are left in this vehicle overnight, a little sticker on it, which is the case. But can you imagine that Mick moves everything apart from this guy out of the van, and someone breaks in and it's like, what the flip is this?
Imagine you wouldn't be able to lift it.
No, that's what I was thinking. That's why he can leave it, because nobody can take it anyway. But...
And the van's actually like down on its back too.
Yeah, the fuel mileage on it. Anyway, sorry.
He has to sort of, it weighs less when he's holding it, so he has to like drive with it over his shoulder. Just hanging out the window.
Yeah, so I mean, sorry for making an extra admin session for everybody, but it felt like a good change for Mick at the moment.
We like a big change. We've started unlocking these advanced improvements now that we're a little further through this production, so it's exciting to see real, like, proper character development where people go completely different directions.
Yeah, and it's nice. Mick's direction is the same. He's just better at running in it now.
Yeah, that's really nice. Well, I believe, Dave, that brings you back to the state we were all in before of being ready to take the stage once again.
Yes, in my new costume.
We had to take a break, but now you're ready once again.
This has been Vigil, a main house production from Merely Roleplayers. It stars Helen Stratton as Melody Bantham, Dave as Mick Mason, and Strat as Brier. I'm Matt Boothman and I play the supporting cast. Editing and sound design by me, and the theme music is by Alexander Pankhurst. We were playing Monster of the Week, a role-playing game by Michael Sands, published by Evil Hat Productions. You can find Monster of the Week at genericgames.co.nz. Merely Role Players is a Foggy Outline production in association with Blackshaw Theatre Company. Until next time, if drama be the food of life, play on.